Hi there, welcome to Nonsense Whisky. My name's PF, and on today's episode, not only are we going to be covering some English whisky, but we're going to be covering something that's brand new. Now, you'll be forgiven for not have heard of this brand yet, because they are brand new. They do have an older bottling than this, which I'll show in just a second. This is the Gullivers 47, and it's made by Samuel Glover and Co. Now, this is a company that was been around since 1747, hence the reason why this is called 47, but unfortunately in the 50s, in 1950s, that was dissolved and disappeared, and it's now being revived by the ancestors of those people, which I think is pretty cool. Now, they started last year with a 4-year-old, although it doesn't say 4-year-old on the bottle. I actually have that back here as well, hiding away. This is the Gullivers 47 English Whisky ex-bourbon cask, but we're going to be talking about that another day. I'm doing this in a reverse order because this one is brand new, and I wanted to let you guys know about it because if you don't get your hands on it now, if you're interested in it, it's going to be gone. And the reason for that is because of this whole pandemic situation that we've been dealing with this year, they decided to reduce the numbers that they were going to be bottling, and actually they only bottled one quarter cask this year. So there's actually only 130 bottles of this in existence right now. Although it won't say it on the label, because I think the original plan was to bottle several casks and marry them together in some such a way. But technically speaking, what you're getting right now is a single cask whiskey. I think that's an interesting thing. Now, we're going to be getting into the price a little bit later on because it's a high price. Let's be honest about it from the start. It's a 47% whiskey, but it's about £80 to £90 depending on where you're looking. So it's a fairly expensive whiskey in the grand scheme of things, but we are talking about an age-stated whiskey, which I think is pretty cool. Let's talk about the actual whiskey itself, because this is not a distillery. This has been distilled at the St George's Distillery in Norfolk. This is the English whiskey, as you know, the kind of first English whiskey in this era of English whiskey. They've actually just released their own age statement, which is an 11-year-old whiskey, which is pretty cool in itself. So this is a 10-year-old distilled by them, bottled by Gullivers. I think that's fairly simple. The cool thing about this is, although it says 10-year-old quarter casks on there, which is true, it's a minimum of 10 years as well. I think that there's some extra ages in there as well, which I think is pretty awesome. I'm not sure about this exact cask itself, but probably 10, 11 years, something like that is probably fair to say. But when you hear the word quarter cask, at least when I hear the word quarter casks, you think of Lafroig, ex-Lafroig quarter casks. These are ex-red wine quarter casks and peated whiskey that's been put into them. Interesting in itself. Both of these are peated, although I'll go as far as to say, to my taste, lightly peated, which is no bad thing. Not always am I in the mood for something that really stonking peat like an Ardbeg. Normally a winter dram for me. We're in the heat of summer, if we can call it heat in the UK, but nevertheless, we've got it. Let's get into the tasting then and see what we've got on the nose. This one's under coin 39, so if you want to get hold of my new batch of coins, make sure you let me know on the website, nononsensewhisky.com. There's a new store there, you can go and check that out. On the nose then. Oh, so, I mean, it's definitely a peated whiskey. It isn't in-your-face peat, but it's just got a really nice waft of warming peat and smoke right from the start. But mixed in with that is kind of nice fruitiness. It's almost like a red berry kind of fruit. And some honey notes on the back end. Now, I'd be fooled into thinking this might have been an ex-bourbon cask. But I guess those red fruits is where we're getting kind of the wine casks from, but I'm not getting a heavy element of those wine casks. So if you're not a huge fan of ex-wine casks, then don't be put off by this, because it's not extreme in any sense of any flavour, to be fair. It's not extreme peat, it's not extreme fruitiness, it's not extreme oak or anything like that. It's just a really nice, well-rounded nose. I feel like this might be a good one to get you into peat, a nice gentle peat. Let's try on the palate. Okay, this is where things kick up a notch. There's really nice spicy element to this. It's almost like a cinnamony spice, followed by a really nice gentle waft of smoke and kind of burnt wood, that sort of thing. It's not in your face, burnt or ashy. It's not like, kind of Lafroig ash or dying bonfire or anything like that. It's just a really nice kind of smokiness, like almost like a meaty smokiness, like a barbecue that's kind of currently running, but not in your garden. I think it's probably like a next door neighbour's garden. It's kind of a weird analogy, I know, but do you know what I mean? It's like a distant smoke rather than a kind of getting in your face smoke, which is something that I really quite like. Another swig. Yeah, I think more of those kind of honey elements coming through as well. It's not like a sickly sweet honey, I should make that quite clear. It isn't like super sweet. Sweet is not something that I would pick out on this, but there's definitely a little honey element to the back end of this. The finish is medium. It's good spicy, peaty, maybe not overly peaty, but smoky at least finish. It doesn't go on for a long time, but right now you can see how long ago I sipped. I'm still getting that tingly, spicy feeling and a little bit of the smoke, but not overwhelmingly so. Now I have to say, I've tried both of these now, and I'll get into this one another time. This one's a touch cheaper, by the way. This is about 50 quid. And a 4-year-old, although as I think I said earlier that it doesn't actually state that on there, but it is a minimum of 4 years. So this one here is about 80 or 90 pounds. So again, it is very expensive, and I tend on this channel to kind of really pitch myself around the 50 pound mark. Although I have to say, recently, this year 2020, I've been picking up a lot of cheaper whiskies in the kind of 30 to 50 pound mark, and I'm getting increasingly disappointed by what's available to me. And I think that pushing that boundary a little bit further now, I don't think I'm going to be able to stick to that boundary much longer. I think I'm going to have to push in to get the kind of quality that I want out of a whiskey these days. I don't really want that kind of casual drinking whiskey anymore. I want that kind of bold flavours, that interesting notes coming through. Now the thing about this one is that it's an age-stated English whiskey, which might not mean a lot to a whole lot of you. You know, there's going to be a lot of Scotch drinkers, a lot of bourbon drinkers that watch this channel. But an age-stated English whiskey, especially one with 2 digits in it, is a very rare thing right now. I know the English whiskey have just put out their 11, as I said earlier, but that really is the first of that sort of bracket that's being put out. They've done a 10-year-old previously, I'm sure, but this is going to be kind of core range, I hope, and the 11-year-old on the English is definitely core range. So the point is, you are seeing things like this starting to come across, but you do have to be an early adopter, and as we know, for anything new, early adopters do tend to pay a little bit of a higher price. I imagine, as these guys start selling their whiskies, you can pick up the other one for a bit cheaper, as I said, that the prices might start coming down as these liquids and the production factors and things like that start to reduce the costs, I imagine. Again, reiterating the point that it's craft whiskey, it's done on a relatively small scale in comparison to some of the big boys up north, so it is going to cost a little bit more. If you're into English whiskey in any way, shape or form, if you've tried the Norfolk, the St George's distillery, then you're going to like this. That's the only way I can sort of put that point across. You're going to like this, and it's probably going to be worth the money. And as I said earlier, a bit of sneaky information, because there's only 130 bottles of this available, this first release, that's important to note on here, batch 1001, you're going to get a single cask whiskey, although not necessarily on the label, just because of how they've been bottling. I think that's fair to say. It's a really interesting whiskey. I hope these guys do really good stuff. I'm going to be looking at the 4-year-old in a couple of weeks' time, maybe next week or the week after. We'll see how we get on. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully you're going to start checking out some Gullivers 47.